Before I tell you this story, I need you to know I'm not a vengeful person. I'm not cruel. I'm a 64-year-old retired teacher who believed in family above all else. But sometimes the people you love most will take everything from you if you let them. This is the story of how I finally said no. On Thursday afternoon, 4 hours before our flight to Rome, my daughter sent me a text that said I wouldn't be joining them on the Italian vacation I had spent 6 months planning and $8,500 paying for. Her husband had decided this trip should be immediate family only. I'm Agatha Winthrop, 64 years old. I texted back one word. Okay. Then I made a phone call that would change everything. Let me introduce myself properly. My name is Agatha Marie Winthrop. I'm a widow. My husband William died 8 years ago from a stroke at the age of 58. We had one daughter together, Lydia Winthrop Barrett, who's now 35 years old. I spent 35 years teaching American literature at Cedar Falls High School here in Iowa before I retired 5 years ago. People who know me would describe me as gentle, soft-spoken, the kind of woman who bakes cookies for the church bake sale and never raises her voice. They would be right about most of that. What they don't know is that I'm also the kind of woman who keeps meticulous records. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end. Let me take you back to that Thursday afternoon, to the moment everything fell apart. I was standing in my bedroom at 247 Oakwood Drive, the house William and I bought 32 years ago when Lydia was just 3 years old. The afternoon sunlight was streaming through the lace curtains I'd hung myself, casting delicate shadows across my open suitcase on the bed. I was carefully folding my favorite blue cashmere sweater, the one Lydia had given me for my 63rd birthday last year, with a card that said, "To the best mom in the world." That sweater felt soft between my fingers as I smoothed out the wrinkles. I was already imagining myself wearing it to that little restaurant near the Vatican that my friend Eleanor Ross had told me about. Eleanor and I had been friends for 40 years, ever since we both started teaching at Cedar Falls High on the same day in 1984. My suitcase was half-packed with clothes I'd selected specifically for this trip. I'd checked the weather forecast 3 times that week. Clear skies and 72 degrees in Rome. Perfect for all those walking tours I'd spent hours researching. I'd printed out the routes and tucked them into folders organized by day. On my nightstand sat our plane tickets to Leonardo da Vinci Fiumicino Airport, right next to my navy blue passport that still looked fresh and official even though I'd barely used it since William died. The anticipation in my chest felt like butterflies. That familiar excitement that comes before a big trip. Before something you've been dreaming about for months finally becomes real. I was trying to decide between my brown leather walking shoes and my comfortable white tennis shoes when my phone buzzed on the bedside table. I saw Lydia's name light up the screen. Probably calling about last-minute flight details, I thought, setting down the sweater and reaching for the phone. Or reminding me about where we're meeting at the airport. But the text message I read made my blood run cold. "Mom, change of plans. Travis thinks this trip should be just for our immediate family. His parents are coming instead. Sorry for the short notice. We'll make it up to you." I read it once. I read it. Then twice. Then a third time. My thumb hovered over the screen like maybe if I stared at it long enough, the words would rearrange themselves into something that made sense. Immediate family only. Those 4 words kept repeating in my head like a song stuck on repeat. But I was her mother. I was the one who had planned this entire trip. I was the one who had purchased all 4 airline tickets, $2,125 each, totaling $8,500. Money I'd been saving for my teacher's pension for 2 years. I was the one who had spent countless evenings at my kitchen table researching the best restaurants in Rome, creating detailed itineraries, booking the hotel rooms, arranging the tours. What was supposed to make sense about immediate family only when the person receiving that message was your own mother? I sat down slowly on the edge of my bed. The open suitcase was still next to me. My hands were shaking just slightly as I typed back the only response I could manage. I understand. Not why. Not but I planned everything. Not how could you do this to me. Just I understand. The disappointment settled into my chest like a stone. I looked around my bedroom at all the preparations I'd made for a vacation that was no longer going to happen. There on my dresser were all those travel-sized bottles of shampoo, conditioner, and toothpaste I'd bought at Walgreens. lined up like little soldiers ready for deployment. My guidebooks to Rome sat on my reading chair, their pages marked with dozens of yellow sticky notes indicating all the places we'd planned to visit together. The brand new Canon camera I'd purchased just for this trip, $347.89 at Best Buy, still sat in its original box on my desk, unopened. I closed my suitcase slowly. I took my time with each motion, being very deliberate about it. Every snap of those metal clasps echoed through the quiet bedroom with a sound of finality that made my throat tight. Then I picked up my phone and called United Airlines. I listened to that irritating hold music, a tinny version of Vivaldi's Four Seasons, while I waited 37 minutes to speak with someone about canceling my reservation. The woman who helped me was named Jennifer, according to the recorded message that kept interrupting the music. When Jennifer finally answered, she was efficient and kind. "I'm really sorry to hear your plans changed, Mrs. Winthrop," she said. I found myself wondering if she could hear the disappointment in my voice. "I can cancel your ticket with no penalty since it's a family emergency. You'll receive a full refund within 7 to 10 business days. The confirmation number is UA7734WTH. Is there anything else I can help you with today?" "No, thank you," I said quietly. "That's everything." After I hung up, I walked to my living room and sat down in William's old leather armchair, the one I could never bring myself to get rid of, even though the left armrest was worn smooth from years of his hand resting there. I stared at all those travel brochures spread across my coffee table, colorful pages showing the Colosseum, the Trevi Fountain, the Spanish Steps. The house seemed emptier than usual, quiet in a way that made my ears ring. From outside, I could hear Mrs. Holloway's golden retriever barking at something. Probably the mailman, since it was just after 3 o'clock. That sharp, insistent sound cut through the suburban quiet of our neighborhood. I reached over and picked up one of the brochures. It was a glossy pamphlet all about Roman architecture, with photographs of ancient columns and marble statues. I set it down on the side table next to William's chair. It was a small, pointless gesture, but it was about all I could manage in that moment when I was finally understanding that I had been very carefully and very intentionally excluded from their plans. When evening came, it brought with it the same quiet emptiness that had been filling up my house all day long. I'd been moving around like a zombie through those hours. I'd even left my dinner dishes sitting dirty in the sink instead of washing them right away like I always did. That packed suitcase was still sitting by my bedroom door, a constant reminder of plans that would never happen. I had the television going in the living room, some evening news show that I wasn't really paying attention to. Brian Williams was talking about something political, but his words were just background noise. I kept picking up my phone for no real reason, just scrolling through random things, my fingers restless against the screen. I figured maybe checking Facebook might help distract me from this hollow feeling in my chest. I'd gotten better at using Facebook since Eleanor had insisted I join to see photos of her grandchildren, even though I still didn't have any of my own. I scrolled past Mrs. Fairbanks's pictures of her orange tabby cat, Mr. Whiskers wearing a tiny bow tie, past some recipe posts from the ladies in my book club about zucchini bread, past political content I didn't feel like reading. The familiar blue light from the screen was actually kind of soothing as my living room grew darker outside. That's when I spotted it. Patricia and Gordon Barrett, Travis's parents, were standing right there in front of the Colosseum, both of them smiling big at the camera with that look tourists get when they've found the perfect spot for a photo. Patricia was wearing what looked like a new Burberry scarf. Gordon had on an expensive-looking navy blazer. The caption underneath said, "Beginning of the best family vacation ever. #Rome, #FamilyTime, #blessed." The timestamp showed it had been posted just 2 hours earlier. My thumb stopped moving above the screen. Maybe they were taking a different trip, I tried to tell myself. Maybe this was just an old picture they'd decided to post now. My heart started beating faster as I clicked on Patricia's profile to look at more pictures. And there it was. Same location, same time. But this photo had 4 people in it. Patricia, Gordon, Travis, and Lydia. All of them grouped together in front of some Roman cafe near the Trevi Fountain with wine glasses sitting on the table behind them. I recognized the cafe. It was Cafe Greco, the one I'd bookmarked in my research as a must-visit because it had been open since 1760. Lydia had written a caption that made my stomach feel like it was falling through the floor. So grateful for this beautiful family time in the Eternal City. Sometimes you just need to disconnect and appreciate what matters most. #Italy, #family vacation, #grateful, #living my best life. What matters most? I counted the faces in that photo with fingers that were starting to shake. 1 person, Patricia. 2 people, Gordon. 3 people, Travis. 4 people, Lydia. Not 5. That word family felt like it was burning itself into my brain like a hot iron. I put the phone down on my coffee table with their happy faces still glowing up from the screen. I got up and walked over to my kitchen window, looking out at my neighbor's house where I could see warm lights shining from their windows. The Mitchells were probably having dinner together. Their whole family gathered around the table like we used to do when William was alive and Lydia still lived at home. The feeling of betrayal hit me like ocean waves, each one hitting harder than the one before it. I grabbed my phone once more, telling myself maybe I'd gotten it wrong somehow. Maybe those pictures would show something different if I looked again. But there they were, still posted with recent timestamps, their faces still beaming with that carefree joy that comes from expensive wine and Italian sunshine. All 4 of them together in that city I'd been dreaming about visiting, enjoying the vacation I had put together, following the travel plans I'd spent hours researching. I scrolled through the comments under Lydia's post. "You guys look so happy. Beautiful family. Enjoy every moment. Rome looks amazing on you all." Travis's colleague from work had commented, "Bro, you're living the dream." I went back over to my kitchen window and caught sight of my own reflection in the glass. A pale face with dark circles under my eyes and gray hair I hadn't bothered to style that day. Behind my reflection, I could still see their group picture glowing on my phone screen, their joy mixing with the image of me standing there alone in my dark kitchen. The difference between us was sharp and hurt to look at, like a photograph that showed me exactly what my place was in their idea of what family meant. But something else was nagging at me, pulling at the edges of my consciousness. I walked back to my living room and opened the drawer in the side table where I kept my journal, a leather-bound book that William had given me on our 25th wedding anniversary. I'd been writing in it almost daily since he died, using it to process my grief and keep track of my days. I opened it now and started flipping backwards through the pages, looking for something I couldn't quite name but knew was there. March 15th, 2024, 3 months ago. Lydia called this morning, crying. Travis was let go from his sales job at Technocore Solutions. She says they don't have enough money to make this month's mortgage payment. The amount is $3,247. I transferred it from my savings account, the one I've been building up for my pension payments. That's the money I was saving to fix the leak in my roof, but Lydia needs it more than I do. She's my daughter. What else was I supposed to do? I kept flipping backward. December 24th, 2023, 8 months ago. Christmas Eve at Lydia and Travis's house at 847 Oak Avenue. Patricia Barrett wore her new Cartier watch and wouldn't stop mentioning they'd just bought a 40-foot yacht called the Barrett Legacy. Gordon kept showing everyone pictures of it on his phone. Travis sat quietly through most of dinner, barely touching his food. I could see the tension in his jaw every time his father spoke. After Patricia and Gordon left around 9 p.m., Lydia pulled me into the kitchen and whispered, "Mom, Travis feels like such a failure compared to his parents. They're always showing off their wealth and he can't compete. Is there any way you could help us with some investment money? Just $15,000 so Travis can put it into this business opportunity with his friend Derek. He says it's a sure thing and it would make him feel like he's not such a disappointment to his family." I wrote the check before I left. It seemed like the right thing to do. Travis is my son-in-law. Lydia is my daughter. This is what family does. We help each other. June 8th, 2023, over a year ago. Today is my 63rd birthday. Eleanor organized a small party at her house, just the book club ladies and a few friends from church. Lydia was supposed to arrive at 2 p.m. She showed up at 4:15 p.m., rushing in with apologies, saying she got caught up at work. Travis didn't come at all. Lydia said he had an emergency meeting with a client. They sent flowers, a nice arrangement of pink roses that probably cost $75. Eleanor hugged me when Lydia left and whispered, "You deserve better than flowers, Aggie." I told her I understood. Work is important. But lying in bed tonight, I felt so lonely I could barely breathe. January 12th, 2023, almost 2 years ago. Today, I closed on the house at 847 Oak Avenue for Lydia and Travis. Purchase price, $147,000. I used the entire life insurance payout from William, $95,000, for the down payment, and I took out a small mortgage in my name for the remaining $52,000. The monthly payments are $287.34, which I can manage on my pension. Robert Chen, William's old friend and our family lawyer, asked me 3 times if I was sure about this. He said, "Agatha, are you absolutely certain? This is all the money William left you. Once it's gone, it's gone. But Lydia and Travis need a home. Travis's credit score is only 580, too low to qualify for a mortgage on their own. If I don't help them, they'll have to keep renting that cramped apartment on Riverside Drive." We agreed that once Travis's career stabilizes and his credit improves, we'll transfer the title into their names. It's just temporary. Robert made me sign extra documentation saying I understood the risks. He said, "I'm writing this down, Agatha. If things go wrong, you'll be protected." I told him he was being paranoid. She's my daughter. She would never take advantage of me. I sat there on my couch, staring at that entry. My hand trembled slightly as I held the journal. The house was still in my name. After 2 years, we'd never gotten around to transferring the title. Every time I'd mentioned it, Lydia had said, "We'll do it next month, Mom. Travis is just so busy with work right now." And I'd believed her. I kept flipping backward through my journal. With each page, the pattern became clearer. November 3rd, 2022. Lydia called. They're behind on their credit card payments. $12,847.32 is the total balance across 3 cards. Can I help? Of course I can. That's what the money from selling William's vintage record collection is for, right? To help our daughter when she needs it. August 29th, 2022. Travis's car was repossessed. Something about missed payments. The total to get it back plus penalties is $8,534.16. I took it out of my retirement savings. Lydia cried and thanked me. She said, "Mom, you're the only person we can count on. Travis's parents would just lecture us about financial responsibility." I told her it was fine. I don't need much. My teacher's pension covers my expenses. This is what mothers do. May 15th, 2022. I canceled my trip to Boston to visit Eleanor's daughter's wedding. Lydia needed me to watch the house while they went to Patricia and Gordon's anniversary party in the Hamptons. They were gone for 4 days. I spent the whole time watering their plants and collecting their mail. When they came back, Lydia showed me photos of the Barrett family yacht. She looked happy in those pictures, but there was something tight around her smile. I closed the journal and sat in the growing darkness of my living room, my hand pressed against my chest where my heart was beating too fast. The numbers started adding up in my head. House down payment, $95,000, mortgage payments, 24 months at $287.34, $6,896.16. Property taxes, 2 years at $3,400, $6,800. Home insurance, 2 years at $1,200, $2,400. Travis's job loss mortgage payment, $3,247 investment opportunity check, $15,000 credit card debt payoff, $12,847. 32 car repossession, $8,534.16. Various other emergencies, approximately $11,375.36. Total, $162,100. That was how much I had given them over the past 2 years. That was my entire life insurance payout from William, plus a significant chunk of my retirement savings, plus money I'd saved from my pension, plus the proceeds from selling William's beloved record collection that had taken him 30 years to build. And now they were in Italy. The trip I had planned. The trip I had paid for. Without me. With Travis's parents, who had never given them a dime but got to enjoy my daughter's company while I sat alone in my house, excluded from immediate family. I barely slept that night. I tossed and turned in bed. Images of their vacation photos flashed through my mind every time I closed my eyes. Patricia's smug smile, Gordon's expensive blazer, Travis's arm around Lydia's shoulders, my daughter's caption, "What matters most, When morning finally came with that dull gray light creeping through my bedroom curtains at 6:43 a.m., I knew I couldn't just let this go without getting answers. I had to understand why this had happened, what I had done to deserve being cast aside like this. My hands were trembling slightly as I sat at my kitchen table with my coffee mug, the one that said "World's Best Mom" that Lydia had given me for Mother's Day 3 years ago. The coffee had gone cold while I stared at it, rehearsing in my head what I was going to say. With the time difference, it was already 12:43 p.m. in Rome. The perfect time to call. They'd be finishing lunch, probably at some expensive restaurant I'd researched and added to our itinerary. I took a deep breath and dialed Lydia's number. I listened to that expensive-sounding international ringtone. It rang 3 times, 4 times. I was about to hang up when I heard her voice, bright and cheerful. "Hey, Mom!" I could hear noise in the background. Travis laughing at something. Street sounds. The busy atmosphere of an Italian city. The clinking of glasses and cutlery. "I need to understand something," I said, getting straight to the point. My voice was steadier than I expected. "What's that?" She sounded distracted, probably looking at some tourist attraction or interesting storefront window. "I saw the pictures on Facebook. Travis's mother and father are there with you." There was a pause. It went on for a long time, at least 15 seconds of silence where I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Then, when she spoke again, her voice had changed, taken on a defensive tone I recognized from when she was a teenager and I'd caught her breaking curfew. "Mom, we can talk about this when we get back. We can explain everything." "You told me it was for immediate family only," I interrupted, my voice still calm but firm. "So what does that make me, Lydia?" Another pause. Then her voice got colder, harder. "Listen, Mom, Travis said you can be too much to handle sometimes. He didn't want you messing up his vacation with his parents there. You know how they are about impressions. Too much to handle." Those words felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. "Messing it up?" I said quietly. "Lydia, I'm the one who planned this entire trip. I'm the one who bought all the tickets. I spent 6 months researching, and Patricia and Gordon paid for their own tickets." She cut me off. "They don't expect us to entertain them every single second or plan their whole day for them. They're independent. All the time." Those words hung in the air between us like an accusation. "I helped support you, too," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "The house, the mortgage payments, the credit cards, Travis's car. That was your choice," she cut me off again, her voice rising. "We never asked you to make us feel guilty about accepting your help, Mom. You offered. You insisted, actually." I could hear Travis laughing in the background again. His voice relaxed and carefree, completely unaware of the conversation that was tearing me apart. The sound of his laughter made my teeth clench. "To be honest, Mom," Lydia continued, her voice getting harder with every word, "Travis was right about this. You do need too much attention. Everything always has to be about you and your feelings and your sacrifices. His therapist even said—" "His therapist?" I interrupted. "You've been discussing me with Travis's therapist?" "She's not a stranger. She's a professional," Lydia said defensively. "Dr. Miranda Chen. And yes, we've talked about how your codependency issues affect our marriage, about how you use money to maintain control over our lives, about how you—" My phone buzzed against my ear. Another notification. I pulled it away to glance at the screen. Transaction alert. $847.32. Ristorante La Pergola, Rome, Italy. My credit card. The emergency card I'd given Lydia years ago when she was just starting to build her credit. The one I'd forgotten to remove her from. "You're using my credit card right now," I said, my voice hollow, "while you're celebrating with Travis's parents, while you tell me I'm codependent and controlling." "It's the emergency card, Mom," she said. There wasn't even a hint of shame in her voice. "We're celebrating Patricia and Gordon's 40th anniversary. It's a special occasion. The restaurant cost a bit more than we expected." $847, I said. "For one dinner." "Oh my God, Mom, are you seriously going to make a big deal about one dinner? After everything—" She stopped herself. But the implication hung there. After everything I'd given them, I wasn't allowed to question anything. "You excluded me from the trip I planned and paid for," I said slowly, carefully. "You called me codependent and attention-seeking, And now you're using my money to celebrate with the people you chose over me. It's not like that, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. Listen, I really have to go. Patricia and Gordon are waiting, and we have a wine tasting tour this afternoon. We'll talk about all this when I get back, okay? Just please don't post anything passive-aggressive on Facebook. Travis's family doesn't need the drama. Wait, I need to— Mom, I really have to go. Love you. Bye. The call ended. I sat there in my kitchen, the phone still pressed to my ear, listening to dead silence. The morning sun was streaming through my window, illuminating the dust motes floating in the air. Outside, I could hear Mrs. Holloway calling for her dog. A car drove past. Life was continuing normally for everyone else while my world had just shifted on its axis. My phone buzzed again. Transaction alert. $234.56. Boutique Valentino, Rome, Italy, and again. Transaction alert. $456. 78. Tuscan wine tasting tour. 4 persons, and again. Transaction alert. $127.89. Gelateria Giolitti, Rome, Italy. My phone kept buzzing throughout the morning as more charges came through. They were shopping, having wine tastings, eating gelato, all on my emergency credit card, all while celebrating that I wasn't there. I set my phone down very carefully on the kitchen table and stared at it like it was a snake that might bite me. Too much to handle, I whispered to my empty kitchen. Codependent. Controlling. Is that really what I was? Or was that just what they needed me to believe so they could keep taking without feeling guilty? An hour later, I found myself standing on Eleanor Ross's front porch at 923 Birch Street. I didn't remember making the decision to drive over. I just knew I couldn't sit alone in my house for one more minute. Eleanor opened the door before I could knock. She took one look at my face and didn't say a word, just pulled me into a hug that smelled like lavender and cinnamon, like safety and friendship and all those years of teaching together. "Come in, Aggie," she said softly, using the nickname only she was allowed to use. "I'll make tea." Eleanor's kitchen was warm and bright, copper pots hanging from hooks and herbs growing in little pots on the windowsill. She moved around the space with practiced efficiency, filling her kettle, getting down her good china teacups, the ones with tiny painted roses that had belonged to her grandmother. I sat at her kitchen table and told her everything. About the text message, about the Facebook photos, about the phone call with Lydia, about the credit card charges that kept coming through, about the journal entries showing 2 years of giving and giving and giving until there was almost nothing left of me. Eleanor listened without interrupting, just nodding occasionally and pouring our tea when it was ready. The steam rose from the cups, carrying the scent of chamomile. Only when I was finished, my voice hoarse from talking, did she finally speak. "How long has this been going on, Aggie?" "I don't know," I admitted. "When did I become the problem instead of the parent?" "You haven't become anything," Eleanor said firmly. "But I need to ask you something, and I need you to really think about it." She reached across the table and took my hand. "In the past 8 years since William died, how many times has Lydia asked about your needs, your dreams, your life outside of being her mother and her bank account?" I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came out, because the truth was, I couldn't remember a single time. "When William died," Eleanor continued gently, "you poured everything into Lydia, every bit of yourself. But Aggie, she was 27 years old. She was married. She had her own life. And you made her your entire purpose." "She's my daughter," I protested weakly. "And you're a person," Eleanor said. "Not a bank account, not a convenience, not a support system that only gets activated when there's a need." She stood up and walked to her kitchen counter. She picked up a framed photo I'd seen 100 times before. Eleanor with her son David and his family, all smiling at the camera. "When my husband Richard died of cancer," she said quietly, "my son David wanted me to sell my house and move in with them. He said it would be easier for everyone, that I shouldn't be alone. You know what I realized, Aggie?" I shook my head. "He wanted my house money. He wanted free childcare for his kids. He wanted a built-in housekeeper and cook. What he didn't want was to actually have a relationship with me. So I said no." She smiled. "It was the hardest thing I ever did. And it was the best decision of my life. Now we have a real relationship. one based on love, not transaction. My phone buzzed on the table. Another alert. Transaction alert. $678. 90 Hotel Hassler, Roma Spa treatment, 2 persons. Eleanor saw the notification. They're spending your money while celebrating without you, she said quietly. Aggie, this is financial abuse. You know that, right? The words hit me like cold water. Financial abuse. That was something that happened to other people. Vulnerable elderly people who didn't know better. Not to me. Not to a former teacher who'd spent 35 years educating young people about critical thinking. But wasn't it? Eleanor picked up my phone. She navigated to my banking app, something I'd taught her how to use just last year. You can remove authorized users. Right now. Today. If I do that, I said, my voice small and scared, Lydia will be furious. She'll what? Eleanor interrupted, her voice gentle but firm. Stop loving you? Honey, I hate to say this, but does she love you now? Or does she love what you provide? Another buzz. $892.45. Il Convivio Ristorante, Rome. Eleanor held out my phone to me. You taught American literature for 35 years. What would you tell a student about a character in this situation? I looked at her, then at my phone, then back at her. I'd tell them, I said slowly, that the character needs to find their agency. So find yours. My hand was shaking as I took the phone from Eleanor. I opened the banking app. First National Bank of Iowa, account ending in 7734. I navigated to the section that showed authorized users. There was Lydia's name, Lydia Winthrop Barrett, added as an authorized user on March 15, 2021, 3 years ago. My finger hovered over Remove User. Years of being supportive, of being helpful, of being needed. All of it warred with a growing certainty that support and exploitation were 2 very different things. The confirmation screen appeared. Are you sure you want to remove this authorized user? This action cannot be undone. I thought about Lydia's voice on the phone. You're too much to handle. About Travis laughing in the background while I fell apart. About 2 years of giving $162,100 and being rewarded with exclusion from a vacation I'd planned. I pressed yes. Confirmation. Authorized user Lydia Winthrop Barrett has been removed from account ending in 7734. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. For the first time in days, maybe in years, I felt something shift inside my chest. Not happiness exactly, not satisfaction, but something close to control, the tiniest bit of power over my own life. Eleanor, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. What have I done? Eleanor smiled and squeezed my hand. The first step. Now? She paused, looking at me carefully. Let's talk about that house. What house? The one at 847 Oak Avenue, the one you bought for them, the one that's still in your name. I stared at her. In all the chaos and hurt of the past 24 hours, I had completely forgotten. The house was still mine. After 2 years, we'd never gotten around to transferring the title like we'd planned. I didn't forget, Eleanor said, reading my expression. I've been wondering for 2 years why you never mentioned it, and I think I know why. Why? I asked. Because some part of you knew, she said quietly. Some part of you knew this day would come. And you kept that one card in your hand without even realizing it. I stared at her, then at the house deed information I could pull up on my phone. She was right. Some part of me had known. Some part of me had been protecting myself all along, even when I didn't realize it. What do I do now? I whispered. Now, Eleanor said, picking up her phone. You call Robert Chen, and you protect yourself before they come home. After I left Eleanor's house at 11:47 a.m. that Friday morning, I drove straight home with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I walked directly to my home office, the small room at the back of the house that used to be William's study. The walls were still lined with his bookshelves, filled with his collection of American history books and my literature anthologies. But what I needed was in the filing cabinet. I pulled open the bottom drawer, the one where I kept all our important documents organized in color-coded folders. Blue for insurance, green for taxes, red for property documents. My hands were steadier now as I pulled out the red folder labeled 847 Oak Avenue. Inside was the property deed, recorded with the Blackhawk County Recorder's Office on January 12, 2023. The legal description ran for half a page, but the important part was right there at the top. Property owner, Agatha Marie Winthrop. Property address, 847 Oak Avenue, Cedar Falls, Iowa, 50613. Purchase price, $147,000. Date of purchase, January 12, 2023. Not Lydia's name, not Travis's name, mine. Sitting underneath the deed was something else. Something I'd forgotten about, but Eleanor's words had triggered the memory. It was a letter from Robert Chen, dated January 10, 2023, 2 days before the closing. I unfolded it and read his handwritten note at the bottom. Agatha, I've documented our conversation of January 8th in my files. You stated your intention to transfer this property to Lydia and Travis once Travis's career stabilizes. I've advised you multiple times that this is financially risky. This letter serves as my official recommendation that you protect yourself by keeping detailed records of all financial assistance you provide to them. If you ever need this documentation, call me immediately. Your friend always, Robert. I picked up my phone and called Robert Chen's office. His secretary, Margaret, answered on the second ring. Chen Legal Services, this is Margaret speaking. Margaret, this is Agatha Winthrop. Is Robert available? It's somewhat urgent. Oh, Mrs. Winthrop, let me check his schedule. Hold, please. The hold music was mercifully brief, maybe 20 seconds of soft classical piano. Then Robert's familiar voice came on the line. Agatha, I was wondering when I'd hear from you. That sentence made me pause. You were expecting my call? Eleanor called me about an hour ago, he said. She told me what happened with Lydia and the Italy trip. Agatha, I'm so sorry, but I need you to come to my office. Today, if possible. There are some things you need to know. What kind of things? The kind of things we should discuss in person. Can you come at 2 p.m.? I looked at my watch. It was 12:15 p.m. I'll be there. Robert Chen's office was in a renovated Victorian house on Main Street, painted a dignified cream color with hunter green shutters. I'd been there dozens of times over the years. For William's will. For estate planning. For the house purchase. The waiting room still had the same leather chairs and the faint smell of old books and coffee. Margaret greeted me warmly and led me straight back to Robert's office. He stood when I entered. A slim man in his late 50s with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. On his desk was a file folder that looked suspiciously thick. Agatha, he said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. Please sit down. I sat. I noticed that the folder had my name on the tab. I've been keeping records, Robert said without preamble. Ever since William died and I started handling your affairs, I've been documenting everything. Not because I'm nosy, Agatha, but because William asked me to look after you. He was my best friend for 30 years, and what I've been watching happen over the past 2 years has been... He paused, choosing his words carefully. Concerning. He opened the folder and turned it so I could see. Inside were copies of checks, bank statements, property records, all organized with dates and amounts highlighted. Let's start with the house, he said. He pulled out the deed I'd just been looking at, along with several other documents. Property at 847 Oak Avenue. Purchase price, $147,000. You paid $95,000 down payment from William's life insurance. That was the entire payout. You financed the remaining $52,000 with a mortgage in your name only. He pulled out a mortgage statement. Monthly payment, $287.34. You've been paying this for 24 months. Total paid, $6,896.16. Another document. Property taxes, $3,400 per year. 2 years, $6,800. Paid by you. Another. Home insurance, $1,200 per year. 2 years, $2,400. Paid by you. He kept pulling out documents. With each one, my stomach sank further. March 2024. Mortgage payment assistance, $3,247. December 2023. Investment opportunity check, $15,000. November 2022. Credit card debt payoff, $12,847.32. August 2022. Car repossession resolution, $8,534.16. Robert looked up at me. Agatha, in the past 2 years, you've given or paid on behalf of Lydia and Travis a total of $162,100, and that's just what I can document. There may be cash gifts or other payments I don't know about. I wanted to help, I said quietly. She's my daughter. I know, Robert said gently. But Agatha, there's something else. Something you need to know. He pulled out another document. My blood ran cold when I saw the letterhead. Anderson and Associates, Attorneys at Law. Last month, specifically on April 23, 2024, Travis Barrett contacted this law firm. He scheduled a consultation about what he called estate planning for an elderly family member. That elderly family member was you. Estate planning? I'm 64 years old. I'm not... He wasn't asking about estate planning, Agatha. He was asking about conservatorship, guardianship, how to have someone declared mentally incompetent so a family member could take legal control of their assets. The room seemed to tilt. I gripped the arms of my chair. He told them you were showing signs of dementia, Robert continued, his voice tight with controlled anger. That you were making financially irresponsible decisions, that you were forgetting things and becoming confused. He asked specifically about the process for having you declared incompetent and how he could gain control of your property, particularly the house at 847 Oak Avenue. How do you know this? I whispered. Because James Anderson is my former law partner, Robert said. When Travis mentioned your name, James called me immediately. He refused to take the case and referred Travis elsewhere, but he wanted me to know what was being attempted. Robert pulled out one more document, a printout of an email. Travis sent this to another attorney on May 2nd. James forwarded it to me. Would you like me to read it? I nodded, unable to speak. Robert cleared his throat and read, My mother-in-law, Agatha Winthrop, is 64 years old and showing increasing signs of financial irresponsibility and possible early-stage dementia. She has been making erratic decisions with her money, giving away large sums without proper consideration. My wife and I are concerned about her ability to manage her affairs. She owns a property at 847 Oak Avenue that she purchased for us, but may have forgotten about, as she hasn't transferred the title as she promised. We need to protect her from herself and ensure her assets are properly managed. What are our options for establishing guardianship or conservatorship? We want to act in her best interests before she makes any more damaging financial decisions. The silence in Robert's office was absolute. I could hear the ticking of the antique clock on his wall, each second feeling like an eternity. They were going to have me declared incompetent, I said, my voice hollow, so they could take the house. Not just the house, Robert said quietly. Your entire estate, your pension, your savings, your home on Oakwood Drive, everything. Does Lydia know? I asked. About the conservatorship plan? I don't have evidence either way, Robert said carefully, but Travis was copying her on some of the early emails to attorneys. Whether she fully understood what he was doing, I can't say for certain. I thought about Lydia's words on the phone. Travis's therapist said you're codependent. You need too much attention. All those therapeutic terms, that language of concern and care, being weaponized to paint me as incompetent. What can I do? I asked. Robert leaned forward, his expression serious. Legally, you're in a very strong position. The house is yours. You can sell it, rent it, or continue letting them live there rent-free. That's entirely your decision. The money you've given them is legally considered gifts, so you can't recover it. But the property itself is protected. But if they're planning to have me declared incompetent, then we need to act before they return from Italy, Robert said firmly. We need to establish your competency beyond any doubt, and we need to protect your assets. He pulled out a business card. This is Dr. Samuel Harrison, a neurologist I work with for cases like this. I'd like you to see him for a full cognitive evaluation. It will cost about $500, but it will provide documentation that you are of completely sound mind. When can I see him? I called him before you arrived. He can see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. if you're available. It takes about 2 hours for the full evaluation. I'll be there, I said. Good. Now. Robert pulled out a clean legal pad. Let's talk about your options for the property. You have several choices, and we need to decide quickly. They return on Tuesday, correct? Tuesday evening at 6 p.m., I confirmed. United Airlines Flight 847 from Rome to Chicago O'Hare, then connecting to Cedar Rapids. That gives us 4 days, Robert said. 4 days to take action if that's what you choose to do. I thought about those Facebook photos, about Lydia's voice on the phone, about 2 years of giving everything I had, only to be excluded from my own vacation and targeted for conservatorship. What would you recommend? I asked. Robert looked at me for a long moment. As your attorney, I'd recommend protecting yourself. As William's best friend, I'd recommend protecting yourself. As someone who's watched you be systematically exploited for 2 years, he paused. Agatha, sell the house. Get your equity out. Let them figure out their own lives. That seems cruel, I whispered. Crueler than planning to have you declared incompetent? Crueler than taking a vacation on your dime while excluding you? Crueler than spending your emergency credit card on spa treatments while calling you controlling? He was right. I knew he was right. If I sell it, I said slowly, how fast can it be done? In this market? With a cash buyer? Robert pulled up something on his computer. I have a colleague, Nina Kowalski, who's a real estate agent. She's excellent and discreet. With the right buyer, you could close in a week, maybe less. Let's do it, I said. I was surprised by how steady my voice sounded. Let's sell the house. By the time I left Robert's office at 4:30 p.m., we had a complete plan. Friday evening, meet with Nina Kowalski, the real estate agent. Saturday morning, cognitive evaluation with Dr. Harrison. Saturday afternoon, list the house, professional photos. Sunday, open house for potential buyers. Monday, accept best offer, begin closing process. Tuesday, ideally close sale, aggressive but possible with cash buyer. Tuesday evening, be present when they arrive home. My phone rang as I was walking to my car. Eleanor, how'd it go with Robert? He confirmed everything, I said. And worse, Travis has been trying to have me declared incompetent so he can take control of my assets. I heard Eleanor's sharp intake of breath. That son of a— I'm selling the house, I interrupted. Robert's setting it up. We have 4 days before they get back. Do you need help? Meet me at my house at 7 p.m., I said. I'm meeting with the real estate agent at 6:30. I'll need someone there I trust. I'll bring wine, Eleanor said, and moral support. Nina Kowalski arrived at 6:35 p.m. in a silver Lexus. She was carrying a leather portfolio and an iPad. She was in her mid-40s, professionally dressed in a navy blazer and crisp white shirt. Dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. When she shook my hand, her grip was firm and confident. Mrs. Winthrop, thank you for meeting with me on such short notice, she said as I led her into my living room. Robert Chen explained the basics of your situation. First, I want you to know, I understand. I went through something similar with my ex-husband. Sometimes protecting yourself means making hard decisions. Something about her directness made me trust her immediately. Let's look at what we're working with, Nina said, opening her iPad. 847 Oak Avenue. Robert sent me the property details. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,847 square feet, built in 2019. You purchased it for $147,000 in January 2023. Current market value, she tapped her screen. Based on recent comparables in that neighborhood, I'd estimate between $205,000 and $220,000. My eyes widened. It's increased that much in 2 years? Cedar Falls real estate has been on fire, Nina said. Young families moving here for the schools and the university. Properties in that area are highly desirable. She showed me her screen. Look at these recent sales. 823 Oak Avenue, sold for $215,000 last month. 934 Oak Avenue, sold for $208,000 in March. You're sitting on significant equity. How fast can we sell it? I asked. In this market? With the right price? Nina smiled. I already have 3 potential buyers who've been looking in that neighborhood. One is a cash buyer, young couple relocating for jobs at the university. They're pre-approved and desperate. If we price it right, we could have an offer by Sunday and close by Friday. Maybe even Thursday if everyone moves fast. Price it to sell, I said. I don't want this to drag out. Nina nodded. I'd recommend listing at $212,000, slightly below market value to generate immediate interest and potentially multiple offers. With a cash buyer, no inspection contingencies, and motivated sellers on both sides, we can make this happen fast. The house has current occupants, I said carefully. They're traveling until Tuesday evening. Do you have keys and permission to show the property? Nina asked. I have keys. As for permission, I met her eyes. I own the house. It's entirely in my name. They've been living there rent-free for 2 years. Understanding crossed Nina's face. Then legally you have every right to sell. I'll need you to sign the listing agreement and we can start showings tomorrow afternoon. I'll schedule the photographer for 10 a.m. Eleanor arrived just as Nina was pulling out the paperwork. I introduced them, and Eleanor immediately took up a position next to me on the couch. My support system, my witness, my friend. One more thing, Nina said as I was signing the final page. What do you want to do about their belongings? If we close before they return, we'll need to address that. I hadn't thought that far ahead. What are my options? Legally, since they're not tenants with a formal lease, you could remove their belongings and store them, Nina explained. Or you could wait until after they return and give them notice to vacate, but that delays the sale and gives them time to complicate things. What would you recommend? I asked. Nina chose her words carefully. In my experience with similar situations, act decisively. Hire a moving company, put their belongings in a paid storage unit, leave them the key and information. It's actually more generous than you're required to be. Eleanor squeezed my hand. Do it. Don't give them time to manipulate you. Okay, I said. Let's do that too. Nina made some notes. I know a good moving company, Sam Rodriguez and his crew. Reliable, discreet, fast. I'll give you his number. Tell him I sent you. By the time Nina left at 8:15 p.m., the plan was in motion. The listing would go live Saturday afternoon. Showings would begin immediately. With any luck, I'd have an offer by Sunday evening. Eleanor and I sat in my living room, 2 glasses of wine in front of us, neither of us really drinking. Are you okay? Eleanor asked quietly. I thought about that question. Was I okay? I was selling my daughter's house out from under her while she was on vacation. I was dismantling her life in retaliation for, what? Being excluded? Being called names? Being financially exploited? No, not retaliation. Protection. I'm protecting myself, I said finally. For the first time in 2 years, I'm choosing myself over being useful to them. That's not selfish, Aggie, Eleanor said. That's survival. My phone buzzed. Another credit card alert. Transaction alert. $1,247.89. Brunello Cucinelli Boutique, Rome, Italy. $1,200 on clothing. On my emergency credit card. While I sat here planning to dismantle their lives. Except it wasn't their life. It was my house. My money. My property that I'd been paying for while they lived rent-free and plotted to have me declared incompetent. I'm okay, I said more firmly this time. I'm going to be okay. Saturday morning, I arrived at Dr. Samuel Harrison's office at 8:50 a.m. The office was in a modern medical building on the north side of town. All glass and steel and contemporary furniture. Dr. Harrison was younger than I expected. Maybe 50. With kind eyes and a calm demeanor that immediately put me at ease. Mrs. Winthrop, he said, shaking my hand. Robert Chen explained why you're here. Before we begin, I want you to know that this evaluation is completely objective. I'm going to test your cognitive function, your memory, your reasoning skills. The results will be what they are. My job is simply to document the truth. I understand, I said. The evaluation took exactly 2 hours and 13 minutes. Dr. Harrison tested everything. My short-term memory, my long-term memory, my ability to solve problems, my spatial reasoning, my verbal skills. He had me draw clocks, remember lists of words, solve puzzles, answer questions about my life history, perform mathematical calculations. Some of it was easy, some of it was challenging. All of it was thorough. When we finished, Dr. Harrison excused himself to score the tests. I sat in his office, looking at his medical degrees on the wall. Johns Hopkins, impressive. I wondered if I'd passed or failed. Could you fail at being mentally competent? Dr. Harrison returned 20 minutes later with a printed report. Mrs. Winthrop, he said, sitting down across from me, I'm pleased to tell you that you scored in the 98th percentile for cognitive function in your age group. Your memory is excellent. Your reasoning skills are sharp, and you show absolutely no signs of dementia, cognitive decline, or any impairment whatsoever." Relief flooded through me so intensely I felt tears prick my eyes. "In my professional opinion," Dr. Harrison continued, "you are completely capable of managing your own affairs, making financial decisions, and living independently. Anyone suggesting otherwise would be doing so without medical basis." He handed me the report. "This is your copy. I'll send the official version to Robert Chen as well. If you ever need this for legal purposes, it's ironclad documentation of your competency." "Thank you," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "You have no idea how much this means." "Oh, I think I do," Dr. Harrison said gently. "I've seen this before. Family members trying to take advantage of older adults by claiming incompetency. It's more common than you'd think. The fact that you're protecting yourself shows wisdom, not weakness." I left Dr. Harrison's office with the report clutched in my hands. I drove directly to 847 Oak Avenue. Nina's photographer was already there, a young man named Jake with an expensive-looking camera and a cheerful demeanor. "Mrs. Winthrop?" he called, spotting me. "Nina said you'd meet me here with the keys. This property is gorgeous. It's going to photograph beautifully." I unlocked the front door and let him in. Then I stood in the foyer of the house I'd bought for my daughter. It looked different somehow, seeing it through the eyes of someone planning to sell it. The hardwood floors I'd paid for. The kitchen renovation Lydia had wanted. $12,000, I'd covered half. The furniture in the living room that I'd given them as housewarming gifts. Jake moved through the house efficiently, taking photos of every room, every angle. I followed behind him, seeing each space with new eyes. In the master bedroom, Lydia's closet was overflowing with designer clothes, many with tags still attached. Stella McCartney, Michael Kors, Ralph Lauren. Thousands of dollars worth of clothing she couldn't afford while claiming they couldn't make mortgage payments. In Travis's home office, the third bedroom converted into his workspace, I found something that made me stop cold. A folder on his desk labeled Mother Agatha. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside were printouts about conservatorship laws in Iowa, notes about signs of incompetence to document, things like forgetfulness, mood swings, poor financial decisions. An email draft to a lawyer that read, "My mother-in-law is showing increasing signs of financial irresponsibility. We're concerned about her ability to manage her affairs. The property at 847 Oak Avenue was supposed to be transferred to us, but she seems to have forgotten." I pulled out my phone and photographed every page. This wasn't just Travis planning behind Lydia's back. This folder had been sitting on his desk in their shared home office. Either Lydia knew about it, or she'd chosen not to look. Either way, I now had proof. Jake finished photographing the house at 11:30 a.m. "These are going to look amazing," he said enthusiastically. "Nina will have the listing live by 2 p.m. You should start getting showing requests almost immediately." "Good," I said, my voice steady despite the folder still clutched in my other hand. The faster, the better. Sunday morning arrived with clear skies and unseasonably warm weather. 73 degrees at 7 a.m. according to my weather app. I'd barely slept, lying awake most of the night thinking about what I was about to do. But when my alarm went off at 6:30 a.m., I got up, got dressed, and made myself a cup of strong coffee. No turning back now. Sam Rodriguez arrived at 847 Oak Avenue at exactly 7:45 a.m., 15 minutes early, driving a large white moving truck with Rodriguez Reliable Moving painted on the side in blue letters. He climbed out of the cab, a solid man in his early 40s with a military bearing and kind eyes, followed by two younger men in matching company shirts. "Mrs. Winthrop?" Sam extended a calloused hand. "Nina Kowalski said you needed help with a time-sensitive move." "Thank you for coming on such short notice," I said, shaking his hand. His grip was firm and reassuring. "And on a Sunday." "Nina's helped my family before," Sam said simply. "When she asks, I show up. Now what are we moving and where's it going?" I explained the situation as directly as I could. The house was mine. The occupants were traveling. I needed everything moved to storage before they returned Tuesday evening. Sam listened without judgment, just nodding occasionally. "I've handled situations like this before," he said when I finished. "Usually divorces or family disputes. We'll treat everything with respect. Pack it carefully. Inventory what we take. You're doing this the right way. Most people in your position would just dump their stuff on the lawn. That comment made me feel slightly better about what I was doing. By 8 a.m., we were inside. Sam and his crew moved through the house with professional efficiency, starting with the bedrooms. I watched them carefully wrap Lydia's designer clothes, pack Travis's electronics, box up their books and photos. Each box was labeled with the room and general contents: master bedroom, clothing, kitchen, cookware, living room, decor. In the living room, Sam paused at a large framed photo of Lydia and Travis's wedding. In the picture, I was barely visible on the far edge, half out of frame. Travis's parents stood prominently in the center, beaming. "This going to storage too?" Sam asked gently. "Everything," I said firmly. "All of it." Around 9:30 a.m., my phone rang. Nina Kowalski. "Agatha, I have news," she said, excitement clear in her voice. "We have an offer already. The cash buyers I mentioned, Daniel and Meredith Hayes, both 33, relocating from Chicago for jobs at the university. They saw the listing at 2:15 p.m. yesterday, drove by at 4 p.m., and just submitted an offer at 9 a.m. this morning." "How much?" I asked, my heart racing. $218,000, $6,000 over asking. All cash, no inspection. They want to close by Friday. "Agatha, this is an exceptional offer, but I need an answer quickly. They want to hear back by noon." I looked around the living room at Sam's crew carefully packing away Lydia and Travis's life into cardboard boxes. "Accept it," I said. "Tell them yes." "Are you absolutely certain?" Nina asked, her tone professional but concerned. "Once you sign the acceptance, you're committed." "I'm certain," I said. I was surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "Send me the paperwork." By 11 a.m., I'd signed the purchase agreement on my phone, using one of those electronic signature services that Eleanor had shown me how to use last year. Sale price, $218,000. Closing date, Friday, May 31st at 2 p.m. After paying off the remaining mortgage balance of $48,763.42 and Nina's commission of $13,080, I'd net approximately $156,156.58. Not quite what I'd put into them over 2 years, but close enough. And more importantly, they couldn't take it from me. Sam and his crew finished loading the truck at 1:47 p.m. We'd packed and removed everything: furniture, clothes, dishes, electronics, toiletries, even the food from the refrigerator. The house stood empty except for the built-in appliances and window treatments. "Where to?" Sam asked, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Safekeep Storage on Pine Street," I said. "I rented a 10 by 20 unit yesterday, number 52C. The storage facility was a sprawling complex of orange-doored units, clean and well-maintained with good security. Sam backed the truck up to Unit 52C, and we spent the next hour and 20 minutes unloading everything. The boxes and furniture filled the unit almost completely, an entire household condensed into 200 square feet of climate-controlled space. When the last box was in place, Sam pulled out a clipboard and handed me an itemized inventory list, 3 pages long. "Everything's documented here," he said. "Number of boxes, contents, furniture pieces. If anything's missing or damaged when they retrieve it, you have proof of what went in." "Thank you," I said. "What do I owe you?" $847.50, Sam said, showing me the invoice. "That includes the truck, 3 men for 5.5 hours, packing materials, and inventory documentation." I wrote him a check. Then I added an extra $200. For working on a Sunday and being so professional about a difficult situation. Sam looked at the check, then at me. "Mrs. Winthrop, can I tell you something?" "Of course. My sister went through something similar. Her husband's family tried to take advantage of her after he died. Manipulated her, used her money, made her feel guilty for having boundaries. You know what I wish she'd done?" "What?" "Exactly what you're doing right now. Standing up for herself before they took everything. She waited too long, tried to be nice, and they bled her dry. You're being smart. Don't let anyone make you feel bad about protecting yourself." His words brought unexpected tears to my eyes. "Thank you. I needed to hear that." After Sam left, I stood alone in the storage unit. looking at the stacked boxes and furniture that represented Lydia and Travis's life. In the corner, I spotted a box labeled Wedding Photos. Next to it, Family Heirlooms from Agatha. Those heirlooms, my mother's china, my grandmother's quilts, William's vintage record collection. They'd been gifts I'd given them over the years. Gifts they'd accepted without thanks and stored away without care. I locked the unit, pocketed the key, and drove back to 847 Oak Avenue. The empty house echoed when I stepped inside at 4:30 p.m. The afternoon sun streamed through bare windows onto hardwood floors that suddenly looked too shiny, too perfect, too empty. This house that I'd bought with William's life insurance money, filled with furniture I'd given them, paid for with money from my pension. It was just an empty shell now. I sat down on the floor in the middle of the living room. I pulled out the letter I'd been writing and rewriting for the past 24 hours. I'd gone through 7 drafts, each one either too angry or too apologetic. This final version, edited with Eleanor's help, felt right. I read it through one more time. Dear Lydia and Travis, the house at 847 Oak Avenue has been sold. The closing is scheduled for Friday, May 31st. Your belongings have been moved to safekeep storage, Unit 52C, 1847 Pine Street, Cedar Falls, Iowa, 50613. I have paid for the first month's rent, $185. The key and access code are attached to this letter. This property was purchased by me on January 12, 2023, with the life insurance money your father left me. $95,000 for the down payment. The title has always been in my name alone. We discussed transferring it to you once Travis's career stabilized, but that transfer never occurred. Over the past 2 years, I have given you house down payment from Dad's life insurance, $95,000. Mortgage payments, 24 months, $6,896.16. Property taxes, 2 years, $6,800. Home insurance, 2 years, $2,400. Emergency mortgage payment, March 2024, $3,247. Investment opportunity, December 2023, $15,000 credit card debt payoff, November 2022, $12,847.32. Car repossession, August 2022, $8,534.16. Additional assistance, $11,375.36. Total $162,100. I did this out of love. I wanted to help you build a life together. But love should not require erasing myself. Love should not mean being excluded from family vacations while my credit card pays for them. Love should not mean being called codependent and attention-seeking for caring about my daughter. Travis, I found your folder, the one labeled Mother Agatha, in your office. The conservatorship research, the notes about documenting my incompetence, the emails to lawyers about taking control of my assets. I have photographed everything and shared it with my attorney. I am not incompetent. I am 64 years old with full mental faculties, as confirmed by Dr. Samuel Harrison's cognitive evaluation, copy attached. I am not a burden. I am a woman who finally chose to protect herself. The storage unit information is below. I wish you both well. I will always love you, Lydia, but I will no longer light myself on fire to keep you warm. Mom, attached to the letter was the storage unit key, the access code, 7734, and a copy of Dr. Harrison's evaluation showing my 98th percentile cognitive function. I left the letter on the kitchen counter. I weighted it down with a small potted plant, an African violet I'd given them as a housewarming gift 2 years ago. It had survived their neglect somehow, still blooming with small purple flowers. Then I walked through the empty house one final time, my footsteps echoing on the bare floors, and I locked the door behind me. Monday morning, I met Daniel and Meredith Hayes at 847 Oak Avenue for their final walkthrough before closing. They were a young couple, both with the eager optimism of people starting a new chapter. He was tall and sandy-haired with glasses. She was petite and dark-haired with a warm smile. She was visibly pregnant, maybe 5 months along. Mrs. Winthrop, Meredith said, shaking my hand. Thank you so much for accepting our offer. We've been looking for months, and this house is absolutely perfect for us. We love the neighborhood, Daniel added, looking around the empty living room with genuine excitement. Great schools, close to campus. We're both starting positions at the university in June. I'm in the engineering department. Meredith's in linguistics. We're having a boy, Meredith said, her hand resting on her belly. His nursery is going to be in the back bedroom. I already have the colors picked out. Soft blues and greens. Watching their joy, their plans, their future. It made me feel like I'd done the right thing. This house deserved to be filled with people who would appreciate it, care for it, build real memories here, not just use it as a free place to live while plotting against the person who'd given it to them. I hope you'll be very happy here, I said. I meant it. Would you like to come back and visit sometime? Meredith asked kindly. After we're settled? I'd love to hear about the neighborhood, the history of the house. Maybe, I said, though I knew I wouldn't. This chapter needed to close completely. But I think this house is yours now. Make it your own. As I drove away from 847 Oak Avenue for the last time, I saw Daniel and Meredith standing in the driveway, her head on his shoulder, both of them looking at their new home with such hope and happiness. That's what a home should look like, I thought. Not a battlefield, not a transaction, just love. Tuesday arrived with gray skies and the threat of rain. I checked my phone obsessively. United Airlines Flight 847 from Rome to Chicago. O'Hare was on time, landing at 2:47 p.m. The connecting flight to Cedar Rapids was scheduled to land at 5:33 p.m. With the drive from the airport, they'd arrive at 847 Oak Avenue around 6:15 p.m. Eleanor came over at 4 p.m. with coffee and determination. Are you sure you want to be there when they arrive? She asked, studying my face. You could just let them discover it on their own. No, I said firmly. If I'm not there, I'll spend the rest of my life wondering if I was brave enough to face them. I need to see this through. Then I'm coming with you, Eleanor said. And so is Robert. You're not doing this alone. At 5:45 p.m., the three of us arrived at 847 Oak Avenue. Robert parked his car at the curb. Eleanor and I sat in my car directly across the street. We had a clear view of the driveway and front door. At 6:03 p.m., a yellow cab turned onto Oak Avenue. That's them, I said, my heart suddenly pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The cab pulled into the driveway. Travis got out first, looking tan and relaxed in an expensive-looking linen shirt I didn't recognize, probably purchased in Italy on my credit card. He paid the cab driver while Lydia climbed out of the back seat, wearing what looked like a new leather jacket and designer sunglasses. They were laughing about something, their vacation glow still evident. Then Lydia froze, staring at the driveway where a silver Honda Accord sat. Daniel and Meredith's car. They'd asked to drop off some paint samples and I'd said yes, giving them the garage code. Travis, Lydia said, her voice carrying across the quiet street. Why is there a strange car in our driveway? Travis looked up from wrestling their luggage out of the cab. What? As if on cue, Meredith Hayes stepped out of the front door, holding a small potted plant, probably something for their new home. She saw Lydia and Travis and smiled warmly, completely unaware of the situation she was walking into. Oh, hi, Meredith called out cheerfully. You must be neighbors. We're the new owners, Daniel and Meredith Hayes. We close on Friday, but Mrs. Winthrop said we could start bringing some things over. This house is absolutely beautiful. The color drained from Lydia's face. New owners? She repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. What are you talking about? Daniel emerged from the house behind his wife, carrying a paint can. Honey, I think we should come back later. This is our house, Travis said, his voice rising, aggressive. He strode toward Meredith. I don't know who you think you are, but you need to leave. Now. Meredith stepped back, confusion and fear crossing her face. I don't understand. We just bought this house. We have the purchase agreement. That's when I got out of my car. Travis, Lydia, I said, my voice calm and steady as I walked across the street. Welcome home. Lydia spun around. I watched her face cycle through emotions in rapid succession. Confusion, realization, disbelief, and finally, pure rage. Mom, she said. That single word was filled with so much accusation it could have been a weapon. What the hell is going on? I sold the house, I said simply. It was mine to sell. Sold it? Travis's face was turning that deep red color that meant he was about to explode. That's impossible. This is our house. We live here. You lived here, I corrected. In a house I purchased with my late husband's life insurance money. A house that was always titled in my name. A house I allowed you to live in rent-free for 2 years while I paid the mortgage, taxes, and insurance. Robert Chen emerged from his car, briefcase in hand. Mr. and Mrs. Barrett, I'm Robert Chen, Mrs. Winthrop's attorney. Perhaps we should discuss this calmly. Calmly? Lydia's voice was shrill now, bordering on hysterical. She sold our house while we were on vacation. How are we supposed to be calm? It wasn't your house, Robert said, his tone professional and firm. I have the deed right here. He pulled out a folder. Property titled solely to Agatha Marie Winthrop since the date of purchase, January 12, 2023. No transfer of title ever occurred. Travis snatched the papers from Robert's hands, his eyes scanning frantically. I watched his face as the truth sank in. This was legal. This was real, and there was nothing he could do about it. Where are our things? Lydia demanded, tears starting to stream down her face. Our furniture? Our clothes? Mom, please tell me you didn't just throw everything away. Of course not, I said, reaching into my purse. Everything is in safekeep storage, Unit 52C on Pine Street. Here's the key and the access code. The first month's rent is paid. I held out the envelope containing the storage information in my letter. Lydia grabbed it, ripping it open. As she read, her face went from red to white. $162,100 total, she read aloud, her voice shaking. Love should not mean being excluded from family vacations while my credit card pays for them. She looked up at me. This is about Italy? You're doing this because we didn't take you on vacation? Read the rest, I said quietly. Travis was reading over her shoulder now. I watched his face change when he got to the part about the conservatorship folder. You went through my private papers, he exploded. That's illegal. That's your office in my house that I had every right to enter, I said. And those papers showed that you were planning to have me declared mentally incompetent so you could take control of my assets. Meredith Hayes had backed up to her car, phone in hand. Should I call the police? She asked nervously. That won't be necessary, Robert said smoothly. But Mr. and Mrs. Barrett, I do need to inform you that any attempt to dispute this sale or harass Mrs. Winthrop or the new owners will result in legal action. The sale is completely legal. Mrs. Winthrop owned the property outright and had every right to sell it. This is insane, Travis said, but his voice had lost some of its bluster. He was realizing, I could see it in his eyes, that he had no legal ground to stand on. Did you know? I asked Lydia directly, my voice soft. About Travis's conservatorship plan? Lydia's eyes widened. No. I mean, Travis mentioned maybe getting some legal advice about helping you manage things as you got older, but I'm 64 years old, Lydia, not 84, and I just scored in the 98th percentile on a cognitive function evaluation. I pulled out Dr. Harrison's report and handed it to her. I'm not losing my mind. I'm not incompetent. I'm not irresponsible. I'm a woman who finally realized she was being used. The fight seemed to go out of Lydia then. She sank down onto the curb, still holding the letter and the storage key, her new Italian leather jacket dragging on the concrete. Where are we supposed to go? She whispered. You're both adults with jobs and income, I said not unkindly. You'll figure it out. There's a Holiday Inn on Maple Street. Several apartment complexes in Cedar Falls have availability. You have options. You've always had options. You just chose to use mine instead. How could you do this to your own daughter? Travis spat, taking a step toward me. Eleanor stepped forward, positioning herself slightly between us. Back up, she said firmly. You've taken enough from her. Sam Rodriguez's truck pulled up at that moment. I'd called him earlier to be nearby in case things got violent. He climbed out, his presence solid and reassuring. Everything okay here, Mrs. Winthrop? He asked, his eyes on Travis. We're fine, Sam. Thank you for coming. Travis looked around, at me, at Eleanor, at Robert, at Sam, at the young couple standing nervously by their new house. He seemed to realize finally that he had no leverage here, no control, no way to manipulate this situation. This isn't over, he said, but it sounded hollow. We'll sue. For eviction. For illegal seizure of property. Feel free to try, Robert said calmly. I'll be happy to present your conservatorship documents and emails to a judge, along with evidence of elder financial abuse, fraud, and exploitation. Would you like me to contact the district attorney's office now, or would you prefer to walk away quietly? Silence. I thought so, Robert said. You have your belongings. The first month of storage is paid. I suggest you collect your things and move on with your lives. Travis grabbed his suitcase and stormed toward the cab, which was still idling at the curb, the driver watching this whole scene with wide eyes. Lydia, get in the car, Travis ordered, but Lydia didn't move. She sat on the curb, crying, holding my letter in her shaking hands. Lydia, I said gently, approaching her. Look at me. She raised her head, mascara running down her cheeks. Expensive mascara. Probably from that Brunello Cucinelli boutique on my credit card. I love you, Isappa said. I will always love you, but I can't let you destroy me to support your lifestyle. I can't be your safety net, your backup plan, your retirement fund. I need to be your mother, not your bank account. I'm sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry, Mom. I didn't mean for it to get like this. Travis said a lot of things, I interrupted. But you chose to believe him. You chose to exclude me. You chose to call me codependent. You chose to use my money while calling me controlling. Those were your choices, Lydia. Lydia! Travis shouted from the cab. Now! She looked between me and the cab. For a moment, I thought she might choose me. I thought she might tell Travis to leave without her, that she needed to fix this, to rebuild what we'd broken. But she stood up, wiping her eyes, and walked toward the cab. At the door, she turned back one more time. Mom, go, I said softly. Figure out your life. When you're ready to have a real relationship, one based on love, not money, call me, but not before then. The cab pulled away at 6:47 p.m. I watched it disappear down Oak Avenue, carrying my daughter away from the house I'd bought her, away from the life I'd funded, toward whatever future she and Travis would have to build on their own. Eleanor put her arm around me. You did the right thing, she whispered. Then why does it hurt so much? I asked, tears finally spilling down my own cheeks. Because you're a mother, Eleanor said. And mothers feel everything, even when we're protecting ourselves. Daniel and Meredith Hayes approached cautiously. Mrs. Winthrop, Meredith said softly, is there anything we can do? I looked at them, this young couple with their whole future ahead of them, their baby on the way, their dreams of making this house a home. Yes, I said, managing a smile through my tears. Be happy here. Fill it with love. Make it everything it was supposed to be. We will, she promised. We absolutely will. Robert drove me home. Eleanor followed in my car. Sam gave me a supportive nod before driving away, and I went home to my empty house on Oakwood Drive, exhausted and heartbroken and free. For the first time in 2 years, nobody was taking from me. For the first time in 2 years, I had chosen myself. It didn't feel like victory yet, but it felt like survival, and for now, that was enough. The November morning was crisp and clear when I woke up at 6:30 a.m. in my bedroom on Oakwood Drive. I lay there for a moment, listening to the silence of my house. But it wasn't the hollow, lonely silence of before. It was peaceful, content. I got up and made coffee, then took my mug out to the back porch where the morning sun was just starting to warm the wooden planks. My garden had never looked better. I'd spent the past 6 months really tending to it, planting mums and asters that were now blooming in deep purples and golds. Life had changed in ways I never expected. With the money from selling 847 Oak Avenue, I'd paid off my own mortgage completely, $43,287.16, gone in one payment. I'd put $50,000 into a high-yield savings account. I donated $10,000 to the Cedar Falls Women's Shelter, specifically for their program helping women escape financial abuse. And I'd kept the rest as a cushion, finally building the retirement fund I should have had all along. But the money wasn't the biggest change. I'd started volunteering at the senior center on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, teaching a creative writing class. I'd rejoined my book club and actually attended every meeting. I'd gone on 4 dates with William Morrison. Yes, another William. which Eleanor found hilarious. A retired history professor who made me laugh and never once asked me for money. I was living my life instead of funding someone else's. My phone buzzed on the patio table. A text message from an unknown number. "Mom, it's Lydia. I know you said not to contact you until I was ready. I think I'm ready. Can we talk? Please?" My heart seized in my chest. 6 months of silence. 6 months of wondering how she was. If she was okay. If she ever thought about me. I'd seen exactly 2 things. Her LinkedIn profile showed she was still working at her marketing job, and Eleanor had mentioned seeing her at Target once, looking thin and tired. I stared at the text for a long moment, my finger hovering over the keyboard. Finally, I typed, "Coffee, the daily grind, tomorrow at 10 a.m., just you." The response came immediately. "Just me, I promise. Thank you, Mom." Wednesday morning, I arrived at the daily grind at 9:50 a.m. Eleanor had offered to come with me, but I'd said no. This was something I needed to do alone. Lydia walked in at 9:58 a.m., 2 minutes early. I almost didn't recognize her. She'd lost weight. Too much weight. Her expensive clothes were gone, replaced by simple jeans and a plain sweater. No designer bag. No Italian leather jacket. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore almost no makeup. She looked young, vulnerable, and exhausted. "Hi, Mom," she said quietly, sliding into the chair across from me. "Hi, sweetheart," I said. I was surprised by how much emotion was packed into those 2 words. We sat in silence for a moment. I'd ordered her a vanilla latte, her favorite. I pushed it across the table. She wrapped her hands around it like she was cold. "I left Travis," she said finally. 2 months ago. I filed for divorce. It should be final in January." I waited, letting her talk. "After that day at the house, we got a hotel room. Then we moved into a cheap apartment on Riverside Drive, the same one we lived in before you bought us the house. Travis was furious. At you, at me, at everything. He blamed me for not managing you better, for not knowing the house was still in your name." She laughed bitterly. "As if you were something to be managed." She took a sip of her latte. "He kept pressuring me to convince you to give us money, to co-sign for a new house, to make this right. When I refused, when I said maybe we needed to actually support ourselves for once, he started saying the same things about me that he'd said about you. That I was difficult, ungrateful, a burden." "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "Don't be," Lydia said, meeting my eyes for the first time. "You were right. About all of it. I've been in therapy for 4 months now. Real therapy. Not Travis's therapist who told him what he wanted to hear. Dr. Morrison has helped me understand how I let him manipulate me, how I let him turn me against you." She pulled an envelope from her purse. "I've been working on something. Dr. Morrison calls it making amends. Not to make you forgive me. I know I don't deserve that yet, but because you deserve to hear it." I opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $3,000 and a handwritten letter. "It's not much," Lydia said quickly. "I've been putting aside $500 a month from my salary. It'll take me years to pay back what I took from you, but I'm going to try. The letter is—" She paused, her voice breaking. "It's everything I should have said 2 years ago." I unfolded the letter. The first line made my eyes blur with tears. "Dear Mom, I'm writing this to acknowledge the truth. I used you. I took advantage of your love, your generosity, and your fear of losing me. I turned you into a bank account instead of treating you like a mother. I excluded you from the vacation you planned because Travis said you were embarrassing, and I chose his approval over your feelings. I stood by while he plotted to have you declared incompetent. I am ashamed. I am sorry, and I understand if you can never forgive me." I couldn't read the rest through my tears. "Lydia," I said, my voice shaking. "You don't have to say anything," she said quickly. "Dr. Morrison said this is about me taking accountability, not about forcing you to respond. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, and I'm trying to become someone worthy of being your daughter again." I reached across the table and took her hand. She looked startled. "I'm proud of you," I said. "Proud?" She looked confused. "How can you be proud? I ruined everything." "You recognized what was wrong and you're fixing it," I said. That takes more courage than never making mistakes in the first place. You left Travis. You're in therapy. You're working to support yourself. You're taking responsibility. That's not nothing, Lydia. That's everything. We talked for 2 hours. I told her about my life, the volunteering, the book club, William Morrison. She told me about her apartment, her job, her therapy sessions. We laughed a little. We cried more. When we stood to leave, she hugged me. Really hugged me. Not the perfunctory hugs of the past few years. "Can we do this again?" she asked. "Maybe once a month? Just coffee and talking?" "I'd like that," I said. "But Lydia, I need you to understand something." "What?" "I love you. I will always love you. But I can't go back to being your safety net. If you need help, we talk about it. We figure out solutions together. But I won't rescue you from consequences anymore." "I don't want you to," she said. "I just want my mom back, not my bank account, just my mom." "Then you have her," I said. That evening I sat in my backyard as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. William Morrison was coming over for dinner in an hour. Eleanor had dropped off a casserole. My garden was blooming. My phone buzzed with a text from Lydia. "Thank you for giving me a second chance. I won't waste it. Love you, Mom." I thought about the past 6 months, about standing up for myself, about choosing my own peace over being needed, about the house I sold, the daughter I lost and was slowly getting back, the life I'd reclaimed. At 64 years old, I'd learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is set a boundary. That family doesn't mean accepting abuse. That being a mother doesn't require setting yourself on fire to keep your children warm. The greatest victory wasn't the money I'd recovered or the house I'd sold. It was learning that I mattered too. I took a sip of my wine and watched the sun disappear behind the trees, feeling something I hadn't felt in years, absolutely, completely, peacefully content.